Welcome, everyone. This is Bridges Live Presents, the conversation of health talk and just our take on where we are as a people of a nation or a people of humanity. I would like to invite my friends and co-workers and just family, Miss Lynn Twyman, and then Dudley, Mr. Dudley. Now, if we get into something, some people can see it and some people can hear it because this goes out live on the podcast. This also goes on live on all the social media. But he is a Marine, so people give him some slack because we don't know how to. Yeah.
I already have my helping crayons today, so I'm good. You don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
I'm fully fed, so I'm good.
Most people know that I've been in the military and in the army, but then we like to have this little rival. So Lynn, we had a show where we talked about domestic violence, and you're still doing that. So tell people what you've been up to, Lynn.
Yes. So, my work in domestic violence, in the last few months, especially during COVID, I've been working with a lot of individuals one-on-one, work through their trauma and their trauma histories. And one of the things about COVID, what it's done is it's caused people to become more insulated, in a lot of cases isolated. And so when that happens, it causes memories from the past to surface. Before COVID, everybody was running around doing this, doing that. They could work to be distracted. They could go to movies to be distracted, but to actually be confined in your own house, so to speak, and have nowhere to go. And so what that has done is it's caused people to think about stuff from the past. And it's also caused people to be with family members that they thought they loved or thought that they respected. And in turn, found out, wow, I really don't like this person.
Like, I didn't care for them at all. Like, they didn't know why they've been together.
Right.
Didn't know why they were together. And so I've had people from all across the world, so California, France, Canada, just different places that have come to me, Africa, and they said, I want to be able to work with somebody that isn't just, your regular run-of-the-mill. I want to be able to work through my sexual assault, domestic abuse, issues with my parents, issues with a significant other from the past even, and be able to get on with my life. And the other thing that I found too is once people are able to work through the trauma, then they're able to achieve other aspects or other goals that they've been longing to achieve for so long. So, some of the folks I've been working with now, they're starting businesses. Now they're finally just getting around to writing that book. But they had to start working through their trauma first. So that's what I've been doing in terms of DV recently.
I always thought that when people have these roadblocks that are internal, right? And those roadblocks that are internal are never really visualized by the person. And so they don't look at them as roadblocks. They don't look at them as barriers. They just thought they was not really listening to their body. They're listening to the functions of the internal body. And they just blindly excluded it and just kept focusing on the external matters. Them, they, how could he, she, all these external actions that they thought was, let me correct that and then I will be okay. And like you said, that's not the issue because until you focus on your internal self, you're not going to be able to live a complete life externally anyway.
Right. Absolutely.
Mr. Dudley, welcome. We're going to because we want to get into our conversation. Mr. Dudley, please introduce yourself because you do a lot of things and there's stuff that we can talk about and there's stuff we can't talk about. But the one thing we are going to talk about is that you are teaching people how to be prepared. And you're doing that at Maryland Arsenal, aren't you?
Yes, sir. That's what we're doing. So my name is Dudley. I am the owner of Maryland Arsenal. So we are an firearms education, training range, and a retail location in Hagerstown, Maryland. So we have an indoor gun range. We have training classes. We have retail space we can purchase pretty much everything you need to either learn to safely use firearms, to if you are an expert, or if you're just, if you're not a beginner, we have things there to help you along your journey. So pretty much anything that is related to firearms and that sort of stuff, we are there to help people. And especially, like you said, the new people that are on this journey, we're there to help out.
Now, we're not hiding from it. We're not gonna, I've been doing shows since the shootings that happens all the time. But this predominantly shooting that happened in Buffalo, which is sad because no one's really talking about the shooting that happened in California, which is odd because it's like it's totally gone under the radar because that was a whole other issue. But anywho, here's the thing: you're going to get a slew of people now wanting to come in, get in, and do. But here's the scary part. There are still people who are getting trained aren't people who look like you, I, or Lynn. Still very few.
Well, right. And so it is, well, that is true, but I feel like to a certain extent that is starting to change, right? So, one of the things that is that I'm very passionate about is helping and making sure that everyone has a place where they can come and they can feel safe and secure.
No matter who they are.
Learn without judgment, no matter who they are, right? So there is, so far and away, the fastest growing population for firearm ownership is women. Like women of color, like it is the number one, hands down. And we see so many women that are coming out there that are empowered to, really learn and do their thing when it comes to firearms and firearms training. And I'll tell you, Paul, like, I don't know if you know this or not, but women are usually much better shooters than the men. Like, especially when they come in there like couples. It's crazy. So they are really about learning. They're really about, educating themselves and just getting better. It's not about ego. It's not about, anything but taking that skill and making themselves better at it.
It always seems like this is historical, Lynn. You can testify to this, that women have to take the forefront on moving our community forward, whether it be voting, whether it be rights, whether it be civic engagement. It has always been the woman saying, this has got to change, either because it's my son or it's because of my husband, which makes me sad because I have been mentoring men, and yet so many young black men still do a lot of this, and they don't look at the proponent that this needs to happen. We need you to change too. We just don't need to rely on our queens to do it all and then say, oh, I'm here to support you. We need to be there by their side, or sometimes in front and sometimes in back. So Lynn, what do you think about this? Because that's part of that healing process.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I often talk about duality, right? And balance. And over the last few centuries, I mean, the world at large has been very imbalanced, right? Mm-hmm. So we've been operating and ruled by a very oppressive patriarchal spirit in a negative way, when in fact it should be the feminine and masculine energies coming together to support one another. And I often tell people this, like, listen, all of us, we have to pass through a woman in order to come here into this world. So number one, women should always have a say, when it comes to, making decisions.
Wait a minute. I think this is the Supreme Court is going to overturn that idea. But I'm not.
I don't think they are. We'll see.
I don't know who you're talking to, because you're not talking to those guys up there. But we're not going to get into that.
Because you know what? I don't cater to the people that don't want to listen.
Right.
I cater to the people that want to listen and have an open mind and are ready for change, because there's not enough energy in the world to keep spending on people that want to do this all the time, right? But, once women understand just how much they can empower themselves by, number one, working through their trauma, because there's a lot of trauma, especially when we talk about people of color, Black and brown people all throughout the world. Number two, educating yourself, right? And, one of the people that I highly admire is Malcolm X. He talked about the importance of women reading. He talked about, the importance of having something of substance, to talk with, your husband or, the people in your life, and not just sitting back and being entertained. And I think once women understand that, the world really is our oyster, we can, we have access to education, we can travel, we can have businesses, we can create thriving families, and all of that helps to influence and create thriving communities. So when we talk about
it's hard to have a community without unity.
Right. And when we talk about guns and even protecting oneself, I'm all about situational awareness.
Oh, yeah.
And for some of the audience, I've talked a little bit about my work in law enforcement, my community work in law enforcement, but also too, my father at the age of 10 taught me how to shoot. He taught me how to clean a gun. He taught me how to, pick apart a gun, put it back together. He taught me about gun safety. My father also put me in horseback riding lessons. All these things he did for me at an early age to help empower me, and I thank him for that. So to this day, I carry on that same type of spirit when it comes to my son and my two daughters. Mm-hmm. And I also carry that same spirit with me when I go into the community and I talk to our young people who are at risk in underserved communities and let them know, listen,
because
it doesn't matter.
This weekend we're having an event at Maryland Arsenal, and yes, we're going to be talking about some of these healing practices that people are feeling today because of Saturday or because of any shooting. We're going to be talking about some of these practices that they haven't recognized, that they could recognize, and they really need to recognize. You want to talk about that real quick? Because not recognizing that, we'll get to Dudley to talk about how that affects your body on so many levels. But go ahead, Lynn.
Yeah, so many different directions we could take this topic, right? But yes. So on Saturday, May 21st, we're going to be at Maryland Arsenal doing a live training and talking about different aspects of trauma, stress mm-hmm. management, healthy communication and relationships. And, one of the things that is also a pet peeve of mine is yoga. I love yoga. I love meditation. And I also feel that if we taught more of our young people about yoga and meditation, they would be more prepared and more equipped to deal with their triggers, right? So I've gotten to the point now in my journey where I can meditate at will.
Yes.
Right? And pretty much on the spot,
mm-hmm.
calm my nervous system down when I'm feeling stressed or when I'm feeling agitated. So, I'll just pause there for a moment.
Well, one of the things yoga is, I think people don't understand yoga means to unify, to bring oneness together. Now, Dudley, at Maryland Arsenal, you actually have some of those yoga practices, and I guess people are not understanding, how does yoga and shooting, how does that equal each other? And I'm in my heart, it's all big smiles, people, because I've been doing this for a long time, combat arts, martial arts, and all that stuff. So I understand the connection. But do you want to talk about that, Dudley?
I do, Paul, and I think it is. I think you're 100% right. So we had our first yoga class, and Lynn was gracious enough to come and join us, and it was amazing. We have a great yoga instructor. She's actually an Air Force veteran. Her name is Larissa Harrington.
Air Force! My God!
So my dad was in the Air Force for a long time.
Paul, be quiet. My daddy was in the Air Force. Be quiet.
100%. So we have to support. We got to support our people. We support all of us. So 100%. But so she came in and she was really amazing. Like I said, Lynn was there. We had a nice small class, but we're trying to grow that. And so, but Paul, you're absolutely right.
Hold on, Dudley. I think hold on, Dudley. You broke up just a little bit, so I don't want you to go back. So go ahead. You had a great class. Go ahead.
Yeah, we had a great class, and so we want to something that's what we're going to do monthly, and then hopefully we'll be able to do it more than that, like a couple times a month, because I think that people don't understand the connection between your body and not only just stress management, but also being able to. Yoga is very empowering. It helps your limbs be more flexible. It helps you, add strength. Like, it really does calm your mind, and it requires you to focus on something other than what you're normally focusing on, right? So it's an outside element that sort of takes you away. It's something that I really need to have a lot of stress in my life. I work all the time, and so it's really good, and I've been doing it for a while, but I really have fallen off, and so it's something that I really wanted to introduce, not just to back into my life, but into a population that may not be familiar with it, because it's not always considered a manly thing. You think about yoga, but all the professional sports teams do it. So basketball, football is mandatory for a lot of the offensive linemen for strength and flexibility. Hockey players do it to help improve and recover from injuries. That, and along with the meditation that you and we're talking about, which I try to practice every day. I don't know.
Hold on, Dudley. You froze again. Lynn, he did freeze. Is it just me or is it just he did freeze? So before Dudley comes back, the one
I froze again.
Yeah, you did. So before I bring you back on, Dudley, you did freeze again. Is that what Dudley's talking about? Is that because most people know I teach emotional reaction training and with the combat arms and teaching different SWAT people and teams. Is that the reason why we develop PTSD is because we were never fully connected with our body and our emotional self with what we were doing. We separated it. So if you can actually bring your breathing skills, your mind skills, your internal self with what your actions are doing, you don't have to have what you call traumatic experience unless the trauma was pushed upon you, like you were raped or you were hit or you're beaten. But when you're in that active situation that seems to be stressful, i.e. a shooting, or someone yelling at you, or your boss walks into your room, or your mother walks into your room, whatever the case, stress that you may feel, calming techniques will help you. And I think, Dudley, you were going to talk about that.
Yeah, that's exactly where I was going, Paul. I think that it's so important for people to have that. And we have so much stress in our lives. There's so many things going on that I don't even think people realize how it adversely affects you, right? And so we all need an outlet. We need some way to be able to better help that and control that. And Paul, you're a military guy like myself.
I think Dudley. Hold on, Dudley. You broke up again. I know I'm watched by the FBI, so I have to forgive you because they're like, there he goes again. We got to make sure Dr. P is not saying everything. So the FBI, I'm on the FBI's watch list. I'm positive because I'm such a human activist. They want to make sure that I'm staying in my lane. But go ahead, Dudley, you're back.
All right, I don't know what's going on. So
I'm telling you what's going on. I'm telling you.
All right. All right, don't get me in trouble, man.
I won't.
But no, so I was saying that there's so much stress in our lives these days, and that range therapy. One of the big things about the Maryland Arsenal and the range is that safe environment where people can come, no matter what their skill level is, to be able to learn and or just have fun in a safe environment where you're welcome is a big thing, right? So sometimes going to the gun range for some people can be very stressful. I know when I used to go, certain times people would look at me a certain way until they got to know me and realize that I really did know or was into firearms, then things kind of changed. So we try to be a space where people can come no matter what their skill level is, no matter what they look like. And we have a very diverse clientele. And so, which is funny because when I started doing it, it's so diverse that I started a new podcast series I'm doing. It's called Guess Who's Coming to the Range?
That's nice.
Which is a take of, I don't know if I mentioned that to you or not, Paul, but it's a take on, Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, which is, I'm not going to, there's been a couple of different versions throughout the years. I'm not going to say which version I'm familiar with. I'm going to date myself.
Well, I'm a Sidney Portnoy fan, so
okay. Well, yeah,
I really like that one. So that's my favorite. So
yeah, so so that's what it's going to be about, right? It's about you're sort of atypical. You're a person that you're not used to seeing at the range. The people that we're now seeing that you never saw before, because for all of us to continue to be able to exercise our Second Amendment right and to be able to shoot and to be able to have that healthy release and do it in a safe environment, we have to be welcoming and understanding to all people, right? And so that's something that the firearm industry has gotten a very bad reputation for throughout the years, and something that we're really trying to change. And that goes back to your stress management, having a good place where you can come and not have to be stressed and worried about, people looking at you a certain way or judging you and making you feel pressure when you come into our environment.
So I've been writing this paper, and I'm such a neuroscience guy with everything I do, is that one of the things he's been talking about stress, when Dudley's talking about stress, there's a chemical most people know, it's called cortisol. Cortisol does a lot of things and a lot of nasty things, but it also does some helpful things in case you need to, run and get away from the saber-toothed tiger or run and get away from something in danger. But too much cortisol actually kills brain cells. And if you have a continuous cortisol dump in your body, then your dopamine does not ever activate. So that means your serotonin levels goes down. So your brain does not actually have it does not reload or does not have what you call a healthy drop. In all of that, the breathing techniques that the yoga does, and this is such a great idea, bringing it to the Maryland Arsenal, is that when you have regulation of breathing, you actually start control. You actually have control over your nervous system. So there's a difference between your parasympathetic nervous system and your sympathetic nervous system, and those things help control parts of your body, the organs, the limbs, the liver, the ganglia, the heart, the lungs, the intestines. It has all of that. And if those are all infected because your stress levels are so high, that means now not only do you stay in the back of the old part of your brain, which is your fight, freeze, and fight method, is that you don't have a way to love, live, and cherish. All that gets diminished. And this can all be healed once you understand what's going on, if you know what you're doing. And I think that's amazing, Dudley, that you're actually implementing that at Maryland Arsenal.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's something that we're very passionate about. It's so true. Like, you need to make sure, because breathing is a big thing, as you know, for shooting, right? You have to make sure you're breathing, because it's like 6 seconds of holding your breath, which is something that we all naturally do when we're scared, nervous, or we're doing something that we're not normally doing. So you hold your breath, and then 6 seconds in, you start shaking, right? So one of the things I always tell people when I'm doing training is breathe, take a breath, take a deep breath, just breathe, just relax, because it's really important, and people don't understand how it's a natural thing when you get stressed to hold your breath and how that affects you, what you say, like that cortisol and everything in your body.
So, Lynn, when people have these traumas, either from DV, domestic violence, or any other violence, I guess people are thinking, should I be going to the gun range? Is that place I can go where I can release this trauma? I think they're thinking of, I was in violence, and now you're saying that shooting, which is considered to be violence, how does that regulate with people, you think?
Right. Yeah. It seems like an oxymoron, right?
But
But, I look at it in terms of, number one, educating yourself and expanding your horizons and getting over fear. So the connection between someone who's been victimized in a violent situation or community, perhaps where there were guns involved, for example, and comparing that to somebody who's been sexually assaulted or raped. Okay. So, yeah, this is a very sensitive topic, but we got to talk about these things if people are going to be empowered enough to heal. So, one of the best ways to get over a fear is to learn how to engage in something connected with it, but in a healthy, safe way.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
And so, when it comes to guns and shooting and gun ownership, being responsible and knowing how to shoot properly, how to defend and protect yourself. And if you've been victimized, and this is often talked about, especially with women, the way to overcome that past trauma and feeling helpless and feeling vulnerable is to learn how to defend yourself.
Right, take it back.
So learning how to take back your power, as they say.
How about
So learn how to shoot, learning how to, protect yourself through martial arts. That's something that I've studied throughout the years as well. And then the connection with yoga too. So like, let's say you're a rape victim, whether you're male or female, right? There's a style of yoga called Kundalini yoga.
Yes.
And, a big aspect of that is rooted in body positions that literally open up the body.
That's right.
It closes the body. So we're talking about, legs being open, arms being open and stretched, right? And this, for many people, has become another good way to overcome those traumas associated with sexual assault.
Yeah.
And different forms of sexual abuse. And, so I'm a big advocate with that. And I know we're running out of time, but, when I work with my clients, and they talk about, I don't want to keep reliving this stuff. Well, we don't want to just keep reliving. We want to talk about it. And then we want to be able to work with the brain to help rewire that memory.
So we can live.
So we can live, right? And we can progress and move forward. And so that's what this is all about, whether it's shooting or whether it's learning how to protect yourself, through personal self-defense, whether it's getting over, a traumatic, sexual abusive past, is learning how to work with professionals like those of us here on this podcast to rewire the brain, so that the brain associates these past traumas with different memories, healthy memories, more responsible, loving, nurturing memories and environments.
Real quick, where can people get tickets for this weekend, Lynn? You got to give them the website.
Yes, so a couple of ways. We would love for people to show up in person in Maryland Arsenal, located in Hagerstown, Maryland. And then if you're not able to come out in person, you can go to mentalwealth.net, and that's mentalwealth.net. Or the alternate website, all goes back to the same place, is lasersconsultingandcoaching.com. So I know that's a mouthful, but needless to say, hopefully, Paul, you can post that information connected.
I will.
With the description of the podcast.
Yeah. And Dudley, anything before we take off, what would you like to let people know?
No, same thing. So thank you guys for having me, and I'm glad you guys were excited to host you guys this Saturday. We are at 19828 National Pike in Hagerstown, Maryland. So we hope that people have an opportunity to show up and see you guys live and talk about some stuff. And we'll see you guys there.
Thanks, everyone, for listening and watching and sharing. And please understand that this is something to help you. This is information. If you don't understand it, please reach out to myself, Dudley, or Lynn, and just ask the question. We are here to help you, not here to direct you. If there's direction you need, first understand what you might need, and we can help you with that too. Just don't always jump into wherever you want to go and say, I'm going to go learn how to shoot, and I'm going to go do this. First, you need instruction. I beg you, get a qualified instructor, because just going to your uncle friend who has a gun and to my cousin's cat who I knew used to shoot, that's not the same as getting a professional to let you know what you are doing, what you can do, and what you're able to do. Those are three different things. Thank you for listening to The Conversation on Mental Health and Conversation. I'm Dr. Paul Dyer, that's Lynn Twyman, and that's Mr. Dudley. We'll see you again later. We're going to make this a consistent thing, because this shouldn't be the only thing. Thank you, and have a blessed night.